Buenos dias, Shabbat Shalom. How are you all doing this beautiful day? We are hot and sunny here in Mexico in the Yucatan Peninsula. How are you all doing? Sorry, I am a little late again. It happens. Things happen on Saturday mornings when I think I got everything in order, and then today it was we had some organic sugar all tied up in the whole bag, emptied out all over the cabinet. And with the ants and bugs around here, you can't just leave that. So that was the tragedy of the morning. Anyway, let's carry on. Let's see. Okay? I am on there. Let's get the chat going here. I'm using Restream, so I'm multicasting, and I just so you know, I can see your messages from YouTube. I can see them from Facebook. I cannot see them from TikTok for some reason, or Instagram. We could try, but for some reason, I finally, Instagram let me back on this morning. I can always do lives from Instagram, but when I do this multi-stream, it doesn't work. And I have a lot of friends in India that can't use TikTok and that use various accounts. So I'm just using the multi-stream so that we can reach everybody. Alrighty. So if you want to make comments that you want me to see, you're going to want to jump on YouTube, which is at this little light. You'll see my face there. Or Facebook seems to work great because I would love your feedback. And if anyone wants to join me and talk on the study, or just be up on here to make comments, that would be great. That was my original intention, was to do this as a group. We were using Zoom before, but then a lot of people just aren't using Zoom much, and I wanted to make it a little bit more open. So I'm trying this. I'm just trying something new. Because a lot of people on Zoom, they don't want to talk. They just want to listen and relax. And I totally get that. So my stack, I've got an obsession with my Bibles. My stack is getting bigger. This is just part of them. So I've got my reference library here. Some of my favorite ones have such small print. And then I'm also using the digital, ones I can read from here. So if you have your Bible, grab it. And if not, it's fine. I'll read to you. We're going to start with Matthew 13. We're working our way through the book of Matthew, which is one of my favorites. And we'll, squirrel off like I do when we need to. We're talking about seeds today, and I love the gardening analogies. The scripture uses so many gardening analogies. And I'm a gardener, so that really hits home for me. And the place that I probably pray the most is in my garden. I am not one of these people that can sit in a prayer closet, or when people create a little room, or even if I sit in my bed and try to pray, other than first thing in the morning when I'm waking up, it works good. But at night or other times, if I sit still somewhere and try to be quiet, I will fall asleep usually, or drift off. I have one of those busy minds. So for me personally, and we're all different, I am an active prayer. I need to move. And I used to go on long walks and walk and pray. And I know others of you are the same. And I loved that. I would go on very long walks when I was working for the airline, and I'd be on layovers. I'd go for 4 or 5 hour walks and pray and pray and pray. And now I'm not able to do that so much. So I'll just kind of wander in my garden or sit on a swing or something. And that's when God speaks to me the most. When I say speaks to me, is I have impressions and I think of things. And so many, when you're gardening, there's so many things that that relate to the Bible, like pruning. That's something when we prune. I spoke about this yesterday in a live. That's so biblical. when we discipline our plants, it's like discipline or cutting off things that don't belong. When we take our plants and cut it, it's hard to do. You'll see all these beautiful flowers. I'm thinking of my bougainvilleas at the moment while I'm saying this. You'll see the bougainvillea and you'll have like 5 feet of beautiful flowers. But if you don't cut them back, they become scraggly and long and not very beautiful. So I have disciplined my bougainvilleas and I cut them regularly. I try to do it after the flowers are done, but everywhere you cut and prune, they double. And then you give it like 12 more inches. So I'm giving some gardening and spiritual advice this morning. When they grow like 12 inches or 8 to 12 inches, cut it. And then they divide again, cut, divide again, cut and divide again. And a lot of it does have to do with timing. I mean, you don't want to do this when the new sprouts are coming out, but when they're finished flowering and you're in this rest phase, that's a great time to do it. But you must, and it's like a form of discipline and getting rid of things that don't belong so that you can thrive. And this applies so much to our life as well. I should probably be saying this later because we're going to be getting a lot of advice today. Is more about seeds in Matthew 13. But there's just so much analogy from gardening that relates to the way our Father teaches us in Scripture. So I'm thinking maybe I should write a book about that. I thought about that the longest time. I've got so many books in me, and I'm determined this year to write a book. I am going to write a book this year. It's just a matter of what am I going to write about? The other thing I was thinking yesterday, if you saw my post this morning, was about these pea flowers. I have to go out there and pick them every day because they give me this gift every day of a big bowl of blue pea flowers. Now, if I don't pick them every day, they will very quickly turn into a pea that's not edible. And then they will give me seed. But that seed is now for a different season. And then it will tell the plant, she's done with the tea. We're going to seed out and we're done for this year. We're going to save seeds for another season. Because plants know when you harvest, they say, okay, someone's harvesting. I'm going to give more. I'm going to give more. I'm going to give more. And if you do not harvest, they stop and they go to seed. It's the way God designed them. Our Father created everything with this innate natural wisdom. So if we stop picking them, if I go on a little trip I don't usually leave ever more than a few days, but if I go a few days and someone does not pick my flowers, which is the gift the plant gives us, they'll go to seed. And it's like us really, God gives us these specific gifts in our purpose. And if we don't give that out to others, which is who our gifts are not for us, they're for others. If we don't give those gifts away, they go to waste, and it triggers, to shut down for another season. But if we start to harvest and we start to give these flowers, and they are given, if I take them, even though it's more than I need, and I dehydrate them and I give them to my friends and start giving them out, it makes more and more and more. So we want to use the gifts that we're given and then get more abundance, or we're going to lose it for the season, at least for the season. And so that happened to me for a season when I was really not feeling well. And I just could not get up there to harvest. I just said, forget it. I can't do it. And all the flowers stopped. They went to seed, and I had hundreds of seeds. Now, that's great. I have seeds still I can share, and I can start over in a new season. But I went for maybe 4 months with no flowers because I stopped harvesting. And that's the same as if we stop using our God-given gifts, or we keep it to ourselves, they can cease. All right. Anyway, I want to share that because I was thinking about that while I was harvesting my blue pea flowers, which I have a lot to share. That's why I come online and read the Bible and share with others, even though I don't have very many followers. I have my friends in India and my sometimes my daughter, and a few friends that join me regularly. But it's here if anyone ever finds it. And I'm just doing this because out of obedience, because I felt God say to just, why don't you just do a Bible study online? And if you're going to read it, just share it, because someone else might stumble across it, and it might be some flowers or some fruit that will, you can seed. So we're just seeding. It's not that it has to be a big group. It doesn't matter, but I'm reading it anyway. So I want to share it with whoever comes across it, or whoever can enjoy it, or whoever can just sit back and relax. I know my friend Diane listens pretty often because she has some trouble with her eyes. And I know that's often for me too. Reading is difficult, and I like to listen to podcasts and have other people read to me. So now I'm doing a little better, and I have my giant print, so I'll read to you, my friend. All right. Oops, wrong bookmark. All right. Let's get the gold one here. Let's get started after all that yapping. Okay. Let's see. Matthew 13. On the same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea, and great multitudes were gathered to him, so that he got into the boat and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spoke many things to them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. Some fell on stony places where they did not have much earth, and they immediately sprang up because they had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no roots, they withered away. That's important. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Does anyone know, I was going to look this up and I didn't, the significance of these numbers he gave? Because I'm thinking there must be significance, and I don't know if I ever learned this. I've forgotten. 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Nothing is random. I'm thinking that signifies something, those numbers. If anybody knows, share that in the comments for me, please. So as a gardener, I know that this is so important. It's so important, and it's also important we know what seeds go into what type of soil. We have to get, the roots have to be in good soil. So if you think about when we're sowing seeds, because that is our job, we should all be sowers of the good news, the news of our Messiah, and that how we are saved and how we have the opportunity to be in the kingdom come and have a relationship direct with our Father. This news we are all called to share. It's not just the Levite priests who could go and approach Father. Now we all can share this good news, and we don't have to beat people over the head with the Bible and say, I need to tell you this news, and then I need you to say a prayer, and then I need to close the deal, and I'm going to go keep track of how many people I saved today. I don't have to do that. I think that might be one of the most, forgive me for those that do this, repulsive things that people don't like, because we ought to be sowers. And this is what Yeshua, I call Jesus Yeshua most of the time now, because that's what he would have been called. I know he would know his name But Jesus is a newer name that we've given him, and it's the English version of his name. But Yeshua is talking about these seeds and how you plant them, and he is talking about, talking about how the literal seeds work, but he's talking about sharing the information and the word and the news, right? Oh, Stella, I knew you were gonna do this. Stella, no, you're gonna stay with Mommy. Come on. Come. She hears my husband in the other room cleaning up the sugar. So he's talking about too, like when we have our gifts to share. Some of us have different ways and different methods and different things to share. So let's say whatever your gift is, you're sowing your seeds, and you have to be wise about your soil. Are you going to places that are rocky? Are you going to people that are not prepared to hear what you have to say? Are you forcing yourself, showing up? Now, I know people do this. I don't know. I'm not telling you I have an answer, but you need to pray about this. What I do, like when I get seeds, I go research what kind of soil do sunflower seeds go in? What kind of soil do corn seeds need? And you need to pray and research with your Father, where do you want me to plant these seeds? Now, if I'm going to go and teach and talk about something particular, if you give me a message, where do you want me to deliver it? Do you want me to show up at a rally that's not going to accept me? Maybe so, and maybe not. You need to think about the soil. And that's one thing I do in ministry. I've been doing for years in India, is preparing soil, because we have a lot of international, or it could be local or international. My life has been focused on international ministry, so I can speak on that for anyone that's interested. A lot of people, now time is short, so sometimes it doesn't matter, and it just depends. Some people are called to just go, quick sow, and others are called to prepare the soil. I've been more of a soil prep girl. Hold on, I'm gonna let this dog out because she's very stubborn. She's just gonna annoy me. Hey, come on. Go on then. You're not coming back. Okay, so, and I work in India, mostly is where I've been working before. Now I'm in Mexico. We have to earn the trust of people. We can't show up as a foreigner in a land and start telling people our ways and trying to get them to accept our ways and our teachings. So we love on them in different ways and provide things like education, because I believe that if we don't teach someone to read and help them have that freedom to break the cycle of poverty, then they're enslaved and they can't read the Bible anyway. So I always start there. Let's start with education. Let's improve their life. Let's teach them to read. Then they can, even if we leave and we're gone, they have the scriptures, they have the guidance. So we prepare that soil gently. We find the local leaders so that even if we're gone, it continues. We don't make them dependent on us. We try to, break those cycles of dependability and teach them how to be free people. So that's preparing the soil on good soil. I'm getting a little off track, but it's good information, right? So everything that's going to thrive needs to have roots. So we have to prepare the soil and make it rich. Or what one missionary I met from, where is he from? Brazil. He was a missionary to the United States. And a lot of people don't think about that, but did you know there's a lot of missionaries now from around the world? They're coming to the United States to minister to Americans. Because Americans have a weird mindset thinking that we're the ones that go out and save the world. And when people come here to Mexico too, they think, okay, we were going to go out and we're going to go, save the people. And I really tell them, I just want you to come and receive, because the Mexican people I know here that are so some of them that live in such poverty. But man, they know the Father. They have such faith, and honestly, they don't need someone to teach them that. But they can teach even our God-fearing, God-loving American people. They can show true faith even during the hard times. They have a really strong family base. They are survivors, and really, they just need some help. They need brothers and sisters to help them with some basic needs. But man, I tell you what, they could teach us a lot. So this missionary from Brazil said he called it touch and go ministry, or so that the what was I trying to say? Touch and go discipleship, or not discipleship, where people come in, they do a big powwow, they have like a music and call people forward, give your life to God, and then they say, see you later. Or they buy a tractor or something they don't need, and then they're gone. So it's not very effective. And then they say, well, where are you now? So I like to go someplace and stay there until we have people prepared. In India, I've not been able to go back because of my health, but we planted the seeds, and now we have a team that does not need me there, except for we talk every day on the phone. But we've prepared the soil there, and now we're prepared to have visitors there. We have the trust. They trust us. And now we're ready to put in roots, and we have a local team there that the people trust, that can really do the work, the deep work. So otherwise, like this just said, it gets scorched up if you don't prepare for deep roots. And most of these people never go back to check whatever happened to that place we did a touch and go. Is there any fruit? So I am more of I go a little bit slow, and I stick around to see what happens. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have some people that just throw some seeds and see what happens, because time is short. In fact, yesterday I'm telling a lot of stories. I'm sorry, I don't want to be annoying. I had my best papaya seeds I saved and planted in my yard and in the neighborhood, but I had some papayas that were not great. They're good, but they're not the best. And I didn't want to throw them away. So as we drove out of our neighborhood down the road, there's some dirt along the side of the road. And I said, Eric, just scatter those seeds, because it might just grow trees along the side of the road. I don't want to throw them away, but sow those seeds, because if the papayas grow along the side of the road, some people might grab them, and the monkeys might eat them, and the birds. But let's keep throwing those seeds, knowing that the ground may not be perfect, but it might. In fact, there was some sewage dumped there. Gross, I know, but we just still want to think about where we plant the seeds and what kind of seeds we're planting where. It's so important. And the directions are not on the seed package. The directions are going to come from the scriptures or from prayer. What do you want me to do with this, Father? Right? All right. And the disciples came and said to him, this is a great question, why do you speak to them in parables? I have a whole book of parables that I think after I do Matthew, I might just do some parables, because I love parables. He answered and said to them, because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But whoever does not have, even what has will be taken away from him. Therefore, I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them, the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled. So I'm going to read that now. This is the prophecy of Isaiah now being fulfilled in the New Testament of Matthew. And this is why it's so important we also read the Old Testament, the scriptures, which is what Yeshua and his disciples were teaching. When they went around teaching, they weren't teaching the New Testament because it wasn't written yet. They were teaching the scriptures, the Old Testament, the Torah, and the prophets. So Isaiah says, hearing you will hear and shall not understand, and seeing you will see and not perceive. For the hearts of this people have grown dull. Sound familiar? Their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed. Lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them. It's powerful. And we see that happening even more today when we have people completely blind and deaf to the truth. Completely. So he's saying, I spoke in parables because some of you are going to understand it and some are not. You know, we learn these stories. I think that what children learn when they go to church when they're little is the parables. That's what we learn. So when I was a young adult and even an adult, you start to hear these parables, you know, and you say, I already know that. I went to Sunday school, you know, and you think you don't need to hear it again. But the stories start to make more and more sense because he told the stories because there's gems in there. And as you mature spiritually, God will open your eyes and your ears and show you these little secrets. Like I said, I think probably this 100-fold, 60 and 30, I think there's probably some significance there. And it's jumping out to me that there probably is significance that I don't know yet. But when he says here, for whoever has, to him will be given more in abundance, but whoever does not have, it will be taken away. So we're not talking about money. We're talking about wisdom. If you have a lot of wisdom, you're going to get more. And if you don't have any, it's going to be taken away. So how is it that we come to understand the parables? Who gets to understand them and who does not understand them? How do you become these people that can't hear and can't see? In other scriptures, we'll see that Yeshua, Jesus says it's the lawless ones. It's the disobedient ones, the ones that don't follow the commands of the Lord. And you see and hear, I hope, that even in our Christian churches, they're teaching you don't need to do that anymore. In fact, I'm sure there's people watching me right now that would say, that's the Old Testament. It does not apply anymore. I would argue that maybe your eyes are closed and your ears are closed and your heart is becoming hardened because it's not what the scriptures say. And I say this with all love. Let's continue. Matthew 13, verse 16. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For assuredly I say to you that many prophets and righteous men desired to see what you see and did not see it, and hear what you hear and did not hear it. Therefore, hear the parables of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is what he who received seed by the wayside. So if someone just receives word by the wayside, like when I just threw the seeds out to the road on the side, just seeded them out, can be easily snatched away, right? The birds or animals can come and take it. But he who received the seed on stony places, this is who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. They get excited, they get the goosebumps, and they receive it. Yet he has no roots in himself, but endures only for a little while. And when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he stumbles. Did you catch that? For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, So what does that mean? He stumbles, like he's not keeping the word. It doesn't say because of the world. He's stumbling because of the word. He's not keeping the word. So these are the people that come to church. They hear the good news. Sometimes they hear the prosperity. All your sins are washed away, which is true. We can be forgiven of our entire past. Everything can be washed clean. But what some people don't hear, what Yeshua taught, was go and sin no more to the best of your human ability. But after we receive this gift, after we surrender and we go, we're trying to walk in it, right? We're a new, we're a new person. We're new, and everything we did in the past, we're forgiven. But we're now to be sanctified, the sanctified process, and that doesn't happen overnight. A lot of people are trying to teach that once you do the prayer and you accept Yeshua in your heart, then now you're new, which is true. But nowhere in the scripture does it say accept Jesus into your heart. If you think it says it, please tell me. I mean, the idea, I understand the idea and the concept, but it doesn't say that. I love you. Leave Stella in here, please. Stella, you stay with me. It doesn't say that. It says, follow me. It says you have to pick up your cross and follow me, and you have to lose everything. You have to put aside anything that matters more. It costs you everything is what it says. So are we telling people the truth and throwing them out on the rock? Hey man, you come to Jesus, we'll forgive your sins. That's true. Every bad thing you did before can be put away to the past. That's true. But do we sugarcoat it and tell them if you just believe in God and you can make money, you don't have any stress anymore, the future is bright, life's going to be good now. That's throwing them out on the rock to be scorched and not giving them the roots. Excuse me. No, Stella. Okay. When I'm saying something important, here goes my voice and my dog. I don't know what happened. Because I'm about to speak truth. We need the roots, and like I've said many times before, when times get tough is when the roots go deep. If we get watered every day and we just feel this glory from God and we know God's there and we feel it and we have the goosebumps, we're like, thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. We all love to be in that place. But when times get tough and it's dry and it hasn't rained for 3 months, like happens here. Come here, girl. Come here. No, come here. When times get tough and there's no water coming down, the roots start looking for water and they go down. They don't go up like this. They go down deep, and then the plant becomes strong. And a good gardener will wait for that to happen. And so does our Father. We have to be strong. We have to have deep roots. My goodness, what is going on with my voice? It's like I developed laryngitis. So be careful when you're bringing someone into the faith or trying to sow those seeds. Don't throw them out on the rocks. without roots. You've gotta like put them somewhere where they can develop roots. And roots come from being watered at first, being nurtured and watered and taken care of. But then later, the only way roots really develop is going through some droughts and some difficulties and going on your own, so that they got to go down and they got to dig in. That's part of it. All right, let's continue. Now, he who receives seed among the thorns is he who hears the word and cares, and the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of the riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. That I see here in the jungle all the time. We have vines all over. If you could see the lots next to me, we bought the lots here in the jungle. It was so thick you couldn't walk through. You had to like use a machete to walk through, because these vines would go through and choke everything off. And so I, little by little, would get my little pruners, is all I could manage, and cut vines. And I'd just go around very patiently and cut, and boom, a tree would just, hi Crystal, a tree would just pop up and it would release a tree. And it just took me forever, but I just took my time, and I'd start cutting these vines away. And some of them did have thorns. If you throw seed in, if I just throw it out here in the jungle and I don't clear away the vines and the thorns, they're going to get choked off. We need to clear out everything that doesn't belong. Right? So even if there's fertile ground there, you got to get rid of what doesn't belong. And that's what we're doing here too. Even it's not just the vines, but we've been cutting down trees. I was going to make a post about that too. We cut down some big trees, which I'm a tree hugger, not because, not in the sense of what people think, but it's, you know, some of them are old and they're God's creation. And they're beautiful. But at first I was like, had a no tree cutting policy, but now I'm trying to grow fruit. And these trees, my gardener, my friend, he's doing the nursery with me, and my chicken man, he's got a lot of names, Eric's. He said, Julie, that it's not going to grow because the roots are competing, and the trees that you're planting sense all the roots, and they're big and they're taking all the water, and the sun's being blocked. We need to cut them down. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to cut those trees, but they're not giving us fruit. They're here for shade. But do we just want to sit here in the darkness, or do we want fruit? You know, what do you want? What's your goal? And I want fruit. And I won't even hardly buy a plant now. If it's not going to give me flowers to bring the bees or give me fruit, no, thank you. You might be beautiful, but I don't have the space in my life for you. And that goes for people as well. No offense. Unless you're in my life for me to nurture and help you, I'm not bringing things in my life that are not going to be fruitful. So we've been cutting trees, and we're using them for the wood. And every tree I cut, I plant 2 more. But they're growing so fast now. We're letting the sun in, and we're helping to make the soil, nurture the soil again. We have to really look at our life, because God's talking about our life, our spiritual life here, because it applies to nature, but it applies to our spiritual life. And if you're not having fruit, look around you. What is choking out? What's choking out your purpose? What are you spending your time on? Who are your friends? Who are you spending your time with? Are they choking out what you're here for? Which your purpose is, which is not, your purpose just like, oh, this makes me feel so good. Oh, I just love, watching Netflix. It's so fun. That's not your purpose. And yes, we can have pleasures, but if you find your purpose and then you go, okay, like I figured out here at my home, my purpose is to grow food. That's what I want. It's not just to live in the woods. I want to grow food. for myself and to share with others. All right, then. We need to cut some trees. We need to stop choking out the good seeds, which is exactly what Matthew 13 is teaching. And then sometimes you need to make some sacrifices, and it hurts to cut down a beautiful tree. And it might hurt to gently and lovingly cut some people out of your life that you like. You might have to spend less time with them. You may have to walk away from some groups of people and organizations and things in your life that might be nice and friendly, but they're choking out your time, sucking your energy. Ladies, it might be a group of women that just gossip, that talk bad about their husbands, and you're hanging out with them and you like them. They're good people. They're not bad people, but they're not going to help you grow and be fruitful. And you need to gently just say, sorry, ladies, I'm just so busy. We're going to do everything with love. But you need to realize, honestly, Eric and I moved out to the jungle because this started happening. We had a very active neighborhood, and I don't want to speak badly of them because some people still know me, but it started being like all consuming, the social, living in the city. Social all the time, and some toxic relationships. And we actually said, we have to move. We got to get out of here. It's the only escape, because now we're stuck in the middle of it. And it's like, adult junior high here. We can't do this. So we actually physically moved. And I never planned to move from that place, but we had to get out so we had good soil to do what God called me to do, because it was not going to be possible on that soil. So think outside the box. If you feel stuck, sometimes you need to do that. Right, Crystal? Crystal moved to Mexico too. Everybody needs to move to Mexico. No, please don't do that. Not everybody. All right, now we're going to talk about that he who received, this is verse 23, he who receives seed on the good ground, he who hears the word and understands it, and who indeed bears fruit and produces some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. That's the goal, right? All right, I love that. I love that parable. It's so good, so good. Okay, verse 24, another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom, this is about the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven, this could be like, we could talk an hour about the kingdom of heaven. And we could probably argue about it too, because the kingdom of heaven, as I understand it, and maybe we all think differently of that. So many are just thinking our destination is heaven, that we're just going to go to heaven and float around there and sing and stuff. But as I understand it, which I believe is correct, and feel free to argue with me, correct me, message me, whatever. But there's the millennial reign to come. And I know there's theories that it's past. I know all the theories. But as I understand it, the millennial reign is to come. Oh, this dog, I swear, this never happens until I'm doing something important. No, girl. Come on, you're going to sit with me. Come on. No, you're not doing that. You want to go out there and stay? Then you're not coming back. You're not coming back. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. I got one dog on the sofa. I got one under my feet, and that one wants to be a stinker. What's I talking about? Oh, kingdom. Okay. The kingdom come is a 1,000-year reign where we're going to come back here on earth and reign with it, where Yeshua, Jesus, will be king of the earth, not in heaven. That kingdom come, they will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So this is what is still to come. When they were waiting, when Yeshua came back, when they thought he was going to be king before they persecuted him, that's why they were like, what's going on here? You're supposed to be king. But the king, he's going to be king in the kingdom come. And we're going to have jobs. and work. And, to whom is trusted, much will be given. He said it's true. I'm preparing a home for you. So I don't know how this all works. We don't have a lot of that information, but when we're speaking of the kingdom, as I understand it, and I don't know everything, and we only have limited amounts of information. So like I said, if you understand it better than me or different than me, we could talk about that. And I love to talk about this stuff. In fact, all these things that people argue about, I love to do. I want to start doing podcasts about these topics. The kingdom is going to be back here for 1,000 years. And then it says there'll be a little season. Satan will be released a while for a little season. And then after that, we don't know, but it continues. So it's very interesting. I did not learn this when I was little, and I didn't understand it. And a lot of people, because it's controversial and it's not, we don't have total clarity on it, a lot of people prefer not to talk about it. And I get that, because we can just focus on, hey, love the Lord, serve him with all your heart, follow Yeshua, and then that's all you really need to know. But I'm kind of nerdy, and I like to know as much as I can. So I like all the other stuff. If it's not an interest to you and you want to focus on the simple, because we can just know Jesus and Yeshua like a child, it's enough. It really is. But some of us just love to know. Yes, right. There is heaven. Right. Crystal says, well, if he says on earth that is in heaven, it seems there's a heaven and earth. Yes, absolutely. There is heaven. And I don't know, there's definitely heaven, because that's where our Father is now. And there's the spiritual realms. There's different levels of heaven. But I'm saying there will be Jesus reigning on earth in the millennial reign after the tribulation. He will return here, and we will return here in some different form. I don't know that. I don't know what that is. I don't know. It says we'll be given different bodies, but I don't know if we will be human bodies. I don't know that. But then people will be born. There will be like normal life again, and I don't know how we fit. So, but no, it's supposed to be with no devil for 1,000 years. He'll be bound for 1,000 years and then released at the end. It's fascinating, and we just don't have a ton of information on it. But if you look at it in that way when we read it, that's what I want to say. It's not, the kingdom of heaven is not just heaven. It's talking about this millennial reign that we can only just, we can use our imagination and pretend we know, but we don't really know. But he says the kingdom of heaven, and our way right now, because a lot of people are saying the kingdom of heaven is already here. And there's the NAR movement does believe that the kingdom of heaven is already here. And I'm sorry, but God forbid, if this is it, I'm just going to cry. If this is the kingdom of heaven here now, I mean, please, this can't be it. It's because that teaching, the New Apostolic Reformation, I studied it a lot, NAR. Friends, if you're involved in that, don't get mad at me, but please look into it. Please look into it. It's saying that as soon as the Christians take over the 7 mountains, if you hear about the 7 mountains, as soon as Christians take over politics, education, and the 7 pillars, as soon as they take over and perfect these 7 areas, then Yeshua will come back. And that is not what the scriptures say. He says it will come back when it's so awful, when it's like the days of Noah. It does not say once the Christians perfect it and the bride is ready, he'll come back. It doesn't say that, but that's what they're teaching. It's false theology, and I'm just going to call it out. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. You can disagree with me. I've studied it a lot. So if you're hearing about the 7 mountains and the how we're to do it, it's in theory, it would be great. I would love it if we could just take over. And some of this political, where we're looking at the politics and Christianity taking over the politics, and I'm not even going to use the words on social media. Now where it's in like this dominion reigning and like mixing the politics with the religion. That's where it's coming from. And it's the dominion now. The kingdom is not here. And the church, people, is not the kingdom. The church is the church. So I've heard other people teaching that the kingdom is those of us that are the church. They're two different things. So there is a heaven, but they're speaking of the kingdom. That's where we're going. If we, after this 7-year tribulation, we're going to be living in the kingdom. So speaking of the kingdom, and our attachment to heaven now, and the way that we are attached to the kingdom is through the Holy Spirit. We get a little glimpse of it. Through the Holy Spirit, we can feel it and connect with it and communicate with the kingdom in that way. So in that way, it's here now, but not physically. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. That it's coming. That's as I understand it, and I believe that's correct. Feel free to correct me or we'll talk about it, but this is as I understand. Okay, so here's the parable. Verse 24. Another parable he put forth, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his fields. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares amongst the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, the tares also appeared. So the servant of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? So if you're not familiar with tares, it looks very close to wheat. You can look it up, and I should have had it here for you. But hi, Anna. Tares looks so much like wheat. It looks very, very similar to wheat, but it's not wheat. And until when it's ready to harvest, the wheat like bows down and the tares don't. So until the end, you can't tell the difference. And there's quite a few plants that way. As a gardener, there's plants where I'm like, man, that looks kind of the same, but you don't know till later if it's the real thing or a weed. So I just let it go. And I'm like, I'm going to watch this one. I'm not sure if this is my plant or a weed. Well, now I have. Too bad they didn't have, my favorite plant app where you can identify the plants, or the one I'm creating the plant app that you can check them. But this guy knew it's a tare. He was smart, but most people couldn't tell the difference. But there's another problem. If you rip up the tares, it's going to pull the wheat out as well, because their roots are together, because they're sown so close. It's not just like other plants, because weeding's good, but not in this case. So, and it's interesting that an enemy sowed it. And this happens in our life. People are planted in your churches, in your friend groups, in places where your guard is down. The enemy will plant tares that look like wheat, wolves in sheep's clothing. And you might go, I think it's a tare. There's somebody here in the fellowship that I think it's a tare, but if we rip them out of here and say, get out of here, get lost, there's going to be consequences, because they haven't done anything yet and nobody else can tell. Like if you have discernment, you might be by this guy saying, hey man, you got a tare in here. I'm one of these discerning people and I can see the tares, but if nobody else sees it and we say, you got to get rid of this person, and everybody else sees it's a wheat, there's going to be controversy. There's going to be fighting. It's going to harm the fellowship if you rip it out until it becomes obvious to everyone, right? Sometimes we leave these tares. Sometimes we leave these wolves there a little bit until it becomes obvious to everybody, because Yeah, it's hard, Crystal, because I know she's discerning too. Sometimes we have to wait till it's more obvious to people, but we're like, I see you. And we have to watch them because there's consequences. It's the best trick in the book. The best way the enemy can harm us is planting the tares in the wheat and putting the wolves in sheep's clothing. It's one of the biggest tricks. So says, well, the men, okay, so when the grain sprouted and produced a crop, the tares appeared. So the servant of the owner came and said, Sir, do not sow good seed in your field. How does it have tares? And he said to them, An enemy has done this. The servant said to him, Do you want us to go gather them up? But he said, No, lest you gather up the tares, you'll also uproot the wheat. Like I said, imagine if a person who's not genuine is friends with everybody. They're in the group, and you say, "Excuse me, but you're out of here." What's going to happen? Everyone's going to say to you, the discerning one, "You're judgmental. You're causing problems," and they'll get rid of you instead. That's what happens because they don't see it. It'll uproot everything and cause chaos. So you have to wait. You have to be patient and wait. This is powerful. Let both grow together until the harvest. Hard to do is hard to do. I will say to the reapers, first gather together the tares, bind them in bundles and burn them, and then gather the wheat into my barn. Got that? This one is also really, I don't even know if I want to go there. This is often used, and I used it too a lot, to say that the tares, when the tares are taken away, that they are going to be, that's like the rapture. When the tares are removed, they're going to be raptured. What's going to happen to the tares? They're getting burned in the barn. They're getting burned, and the wheat remains. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but I want you to meditate on that. Pray about that, because that is used a lot. It's more clear in this right here, but in other versions or other places, it's talked about the tares being removed. And that's often used as the rapture. No, that's not it. That's a misinterpretation. I'll just stop. I'll just leave it at that. If you've ever been taught that or believe that, because you heard that, please re-examine that. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. That's one of my favorites. We're not even going to get through 13 today because I love this. The mustard seed which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds. But when it's grown, it's the greater herb than an herb, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches. They're not getting into the mustard seed in that one. I won't get into my big mustard seed. Well, maybe I will. So the mustard seed, I'll try to make this quick, but I have to tell it. The mustard seed, when I started my little school in India, that I love the verse about there's mustard seeds in the Bible a lot. If you have faith of the size of a mustard seed, then things will be possible for you. So I used that verse, and I sold seeds and I sold plants in my garage to build this school. And when I got there, the really long story short, they built the school and I showed up to see it at the end. And it was in a field of mustard seeds. Well, what happened is I walked up and I came at night and didn't see the school. In the morning, my mom came with me and we walked and we looked and see the school off in the distance. And there's yellow flowers all around it, a whole field. And I said to Iqbal, was his name? I said, "Hey, brother, what are those flowers?" He said, "Oh, my sister is mustard." I was like, I just started weeping. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me." It was built in a mustard seed field. And I said, "Did you know how I told my mom, that's mustard." And she started crying too, because she knew that was my theme verse. And I named my little nonprofit, my first one, Planting Dreams. And the whole theme was about the mustard seed. I had a little necklace with a mustard seed. I had little packets. Everything was about the mustard seed. And the school was built in a mustard seed field. And I did not know. And he did not know that was my theme. That's the confirmation where God shows you that he's in things. And I will tell this really briefly for those of you that know the community center that we built here in Mexico. When I got there one day, we had gardens built there. I always try to grow mustard seed here in Mexico. It wouldn't grow. But I arrived there after being really going through a bad stage with seizures and not doing well. But I showed up there and there were yellow flowers all through the flower bed that Marina, a little girl, her mom had seeded, and it was mustard. It's the first time I saw it in Mexico, and she actually put mustard at that community center too. And she also did not know my story. I had never seen mustard here, and it was through the whole part of the garden bed. So I took some of those mustard seeds home to my house, and they're now growing on my roof. So for the people that know the long story with this community center, I'm no longer part of. I know God is in it. I know it's his, and I know that he's working there because he showed me the mustard seeds. So I just planted my small seed of love. I was obedient, and it belongs to him. And now I feel like I'm going to cry. So that's what this one doesn't talk much about the mustard, but it's excuse me. That's mustard seeds, really something special to me. And so they're growing on my roof, and I will eventually keep the seeds and I will start spreading them on. I'm going to send you some mustard seeds too, Crystal, along with the blue pea flowers. I gotta make a little care package for you. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional. Let's see, where was I? All right, here's another parable. I'm not going to get through all of this. I'm trying to think where to stop. Maybe I should stop there. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop there. It's going into leavening the bread, and then I'll start talking about sourdough. We've gone long enough. So we're going to stop at that parable, and we'll start back up at Matthew 13:33 on next Saturday. Maybe get mushy. All right, my friends, thank you for joining me. Have a blessed day, and I will be going to be resting today, and then I will put out some of the shorts on this if you can share with your friends. And this will be, the recording will be, I think it stays on Facebook and it does stay on YouTube. I don't think it doesn't stay on Instagram. And I think it went on to TikTok today. I'm not sure, but anyway, bless you. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining me.